Hello and welcome to my tournament report for the WTC singles event. So WTC stands for the World Team Championships, and it might sound a bit weird for the World Team Championships to feature a single event, but this was basically where some of the players who came from all over the world to compete in this wonderful event would play individually. So it featured a few players who weren't playing in the team event, such as a few Russians, which is a good time. I myself was here on behalf of the United Kingdom, and Britain has two teams. We competed in the team event. I'll put a link either up here or in the video description. I was part of Team Saint, but for this tournament I just competed on my own. It was a really good time. Everything was very well organised. The referees really knew their stuff, which was great. It was a 2-day event with 3 rounds on each, and I played as Brood Brothers. So I brought Catachan proxies, which were Catachan for the Brood Guard. I had Primaris Psyker for the Magus, Slimarbo for the Primus, Boreworms for the Familiars, and an Amble for the Patriarch. The event took place on special laser cut Bandua terrain, so unique open stuff, and there was some Bandua into the dark stuff as well. My first match of the tournament was against a German player called Killian. It was interesting to see because I hadn't met any of the Germans before, either in person or online, but they have a small community which is growing, so it's nice to see that the scene is springing up somewhere else. But he played Novitiates, and it was open with the mission being loot. I think this is quite a difficult matchup for Novitiates because one of their best defensive tools is their Active Faith Blinding Aura, but unfortunately for them, the Ruthless Coordination tac ploy still allows you to shoot them even if they were to use Blinding Aura. And this is difficult because it means that they can't keep their models alive turn 1, which is really crucial. It meant that in our match I was able to score a kill on turn 1 with the Sapper, and the Knife Fighter was able to take down his Repentia. Although he was able to play the points in an intelligent way, stopping me going ahead on primaries too much early on, he took quite late game secondaries, and I was just able to run away on the model front, especially after winning initiative at the start of turn 2 thanks to my Primus. He was a lovely fellow. It was great to meet him. I had some wonderful conversations with him later, but the final score was 22-12 to me. My second opponent was Javier Rodel from Spain. He was very full of energy and absolutely pumped to be in the tournament, which is always great to see. He was using Galapox, and I played him on Into the Dark Secure. He said that he felt fairly confident into the matchup, but then because I was taking the Magus and the Interference asset, he found the matchup to be very difficult because the stuns were just so difficult for his Nightmare Hulks. So I stunned Volgrath Thrice Cursed, which meant he wasn't really able to do anything the whole game, and I was able to stun a Hulk on the other side of the board. And when Galapox can't kill anything with their Hulks, it's a difficult time because it means they can't actually win the game on the model front very well. I think capture would have been much more difficult, but as it was with Secure, I was simply able to go massively up on points, and he was not able to kill enough of my models to push back. He was very careful turn 1 with the way he activated and who went first, so he successfully managed to dodge a dynamite from my Sapper to his credit, but unfortunately all of this careful play cost him too much on the time, and although he played frantically later on, the tournament used death clock rules, so since he ran out of time and I still had time left on my clock, I was allotted this time to move about without him being able to take any actions. He told me he played against other Brood Brother players later in the tournament and they did not take the Magus or Interference, and he had a much more easy time and was able to win against them. But in the end, I was able to win 22-8. My third match was against a Polish player called Mateusz. We've met before at LGT and a couple of other Warhammer World events he's flown over for. I took the Knife Fighter and he took the Melter Gunner, so a little bit of roster variation there. We both took the Primus, and in the first turn he was able to shoot the Knife Fighter off the board because I thought he was obscured, but unfortunately he wasn't, so Mateusz moved his Primus up and shot him. which meant that although I was attacker and forced Mateusz to go first, he then had final say, and the final move he was able to do was with impunity, so I wasn't able to hit him back. However, I was able to shoot his Primus off the board turn 1 with my Plasma and Ruthless Coordination, but unfortunately from then on Mateusz just went up on primaries and my models weren't able to get the kills they need, especially the Primus, who, although mine survived until quite late in the game, the pistol just was not able to get many kills, and this meant that although I did quite well on primaries and secondaries, Mateusz was able to massively beat me on the primaries. And I was overly defensive with my Sapper in this game. That's definitely something I would change. I would like to have moved him forward more, and I kept him right at the back of the board, which you really can't afford to do, I think. Mateusz won 22-16, and he also eventually won the tournament, so congratulations to you, Mateusz. I've got a selfie with him. I know he looks a bit miserable, but I also got one with him smiling as well, so isn't that lovely? Round 4 was versus Alexa. He's the Australian gentleman that won Worlds back in November. He won them with Chaos Cult, so I was definitely quite nervous going into this match. Now he was playing Hearthkin, and the map and mission were Into the Dark on Loot, and as we discussed, I think Into the Dark is better for him, and we discussed the mission a bit, but maybe Loot was better for him than alternatives. His Hearthkin do shut down the covert guys forward deploys, which is definitely interesting into this matchup because it means that it really reduces the amount of board presence which Brood Brothers have on Turning Point 1. He says he thinks he could have prevented a shot into his Grenadier Turning Point 1, which he definitely cites as one of the reasons he lost the match. I also feel that he really struggled to kill my Psychic Familiars without losing a Dwarf in return. I was quite careful about where they were placed to prevent double kills, so that was certainly a big help for me. Although he won Initiative Turning Point 3 and was able to go 4-2 by looting one of my home objectives, and by having the foresight to know that I had taken Rob and Ransack, and by blocking that secondary at the end of the game, I was able to go 4-2 in turn 4 and also block 3 of his secondaries at the end, which meant that I was able to take the win with 18-17. My round 5 opponent was Guy Barton, so it was a father-son match. He was playing Mandrakes, and this was on Open Secure. The TOs had made a ruling that the Sapper can fall back and detonated already planted explosives if he's within 6 inches of the Icon Rod and uses his Final Defiance ability to do both. This means that the Mandrakes cannot hide in the smoke nearby because the explosives will go through it, and this means that they can't push up the board to a really advantageous spot like they would normally want to do. So I then had primaries locked down, turn 1 and 2, going 4-2 both times. His Mandrake at the start of turn 2 completely whiffed against my Melter, so the Melter survived thanks to me using Idolization, and then he didn't score Death in Darkness, Rout, or his Eliminate Guards off the back of that, which was a big problem for him. This meant that I was models and points ahead, but remember to drink water and get some fresh air between rounds, guys, because the fatigue was really getting to me, and I made some really bad mistakes towards the end of this game. I was messing up sequencing, I was losing models in ways I shouldn't have, forgetting abilities and all sorts. I completely forgot that I had interference in this match, which usually would be really impactful for stunning Mandrakes, but this was just a massive problem for me, and in the end he was able to go 4-2 and 4-1 in the final turns, and this meant that it was 2019 to him. My final round was versus Alberto from Spain. This was a very fun match. It was Into the Dark capture, and at the start we had a gentleman's agreement because we were both a bit sort of disappointed there wasn't a great opportunity to use the Patriarch earlier in the tournament. We agreed to both take him into this match to sort of have our big kaiju fight, which was great fun. We played him in quite different ways. He played him in a very aggressive way, running up and risking everything on a mind control to try and get into melee and keep him safe on turn 1. I sort of moved him up the board a bit more carefully and then sort of hugged everyone in melee, which stopped his threats from running through, which was fairly impactful. Although I was able to jam his Patriarch with my Vox operator, and I shot a few times into him, did relatively little damage. And then on the other hand, his Plasma shot into me and did 12, so it was, really took my guy down to a lot of low health. He won the attacker role as well, which was quite crucial for him going 4-2 turn 1, I think. Although towards the end of the game I was able to push up on primaries, and I charged my Agitator in. Unfortunately he whiffed, and then the next turn I should have done the Agitator again earlier, but I messed up on sequencing, and this meant that I missed all 3 of my primaries, including the second point of Robin Rantack, and I failed to take an objective off of him. So I think this gives me another sort of thing that I should clearly improve on and make sure I'm not messing up on in future matches, because I think that was an important swing. I think he played a very good game, but I think there were things that I could have played differently if I were to do it again. In the end, it was 18-15 to him. Overall, I'm very happy with how I played at this tournament. It was a really wonderful time. I was a bit worried because I was feeling a bit rusty, but overall I think that 3-3 is quite a good showing, especially since the standard here is so very high. Some of the best players in the world were at this event, so I think I'm really happy to have done as well as I did. It was quite challenging and fun matches. I hope to get better and have more matches against all of these people and play them again in future. I'd like to thank Ryan Slater for inviting me, since without him I wouldn't be at this wonderful event, and I hope to be able to make it again in future, because it was a great time. The top 3 were Mateusz, Carlos and Ace, so I think these are some of the best players in the world, and it was a fantastic time to see them play their matches and to sort of pick up some strategies from them. Talking to them was very interesting, and I'm glad to have been here, for sure. It was one of the best events I've ever been to, I think.